This is the story of sudden death, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. An awesome movie about karate and hockey, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. Picture this, it's Game 7. Stanley Cup Finals, the Pittsburgh Penguins versus Chicago Blackhawks. Jean-Claude Van Damme's playing a lowly fire marshal who's there enjoying the game with his family. The vice president's there, also a group of terrorists. And they've raped the Pittsburgh Civic Arena with bombs? Oh no! This is a story of sudden death, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. An awesome movie about karate.
So Drew, very few movies deserve a tribute song. And I feel like Andy Dwyer really knocked it out of the park with this one.
Not only did he nail the Roadhouse scene, he also nailed this in song form.
Yeah, not saying it's the best movie, and not all great movies deserve songs, but some movies are so ridiculous they deserve songs such as this.
It's called Tribute.
It's a tribute.
Well, welcome back to the Last Row Podcast. My name is Drew. As always, I am joined by my very good friend, Badway.
Hi.
We want to welcome all new listeners. For those that do not know, this is a podcast where we watch movies that might not have been loved by the critics and find the silver linings. We fill in the blanks that the movie writers might have left out. You know the drill.
A podcast?
It's a podcast. If you're looking to keep in touch with us, go to our website, thelastrowpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at thelastrowpod, facebook.com/thelastrowpod. We're also on Google+. Leave us some comments on the SoundCloud player. We have a voicemail line. We got a voicemail last week. Thank you, Dave, for sending us it. I've been double clutching ever since you called in.
Good tip.
And lastly, if you haven't done so already, I know we got a couple new reviews here. We really, really appreciate everybody that's gone out to iTunes, giving us a 5-star review. If you're enjoying the show, please head out there and do that. It really, really does help us out. So thank you to everyone that's done that so far.
Sudden Death. 1995, Rotten Tomatoes 52%, IMDb 5.6%. Ex-fireman Darren McCord has a new job working security at the Pittsburgh Civic Arena. It's not really a new job. It's a one-time deal.
It's a temporary
He's
gig.
Unemployed. Let's not get it straight.
As Mr. Dad said.
Hoping to impress his kids, he scored tickets to the Stanley Cup Finals, unaware that the place has been taken over by a group of terrorists. Ex-government employee Joshua Foss, who is not really named in this movie.
He's not named at all.
It's Powers Booth.
Fun fact. Noah Daniels from 24.
Is holding the vice president hostage in a press box and plans to blow up the building if he doesn't pay the ransom. But when Darren learns of his scheme, he jumps into action to save the day.
It's a pretty extreme terrorism plot.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. I feel like it didn't do justice to the plot, whereas they say once the game hits zeros, he blows the building up.
Like it's over.
Yeah.
No more living. Everyone's dead.
So the play on the term sudden death has like 5 different meanings in this movie.
And they said it multiple times, which was awesome.
Yes.
We love anytime a movie references the title, as you've heard on previous episodes of this show.
Yeah.
So let's pick on Peter. As we pick on Peter Travers, we like to pick out a review, and just so happens to be Peter Travers every week now. And I think we're just going to keep that going because he tends to hate everything that we love. So let's just keep it going.
Did he have thoughts on this movie?
Yeah, so this is the exact quote from Peter Travers on this, and I'm going to butcher names here. So he says, despite the elaborate stunts, go, go, go direction from Peter Hyams, who also directed Time Cop, as Badway told me.
Nice.
Plus butt-kicking and surprise goalie action from Van Damme, Death deserves the Hockey Puck Booby Prize for getting its jollies by putting kids in jeopardy. Did he really go there?
You can't put the kid in jeopardy?
There's adults in jeopardy. There's old people in jeopardy. There's everybody in jeopardy. Get out of here,
Look,
Peter.
I don't want to get off my lawn here, be an old man. But in the 90s, that's how the plots of these movies were driven. Nieces and nephews and sons and daughters were constantly in jeopardy.
Call up the fun police, Badway.
What the heck?
No more fun allowed in movies.
The kids are constantly, when kids are born, they're in jeopardy. They're like they're walking time bombs.
That's so true.
You know?
I mean, I take issue with this, Peter. I'm sorry. I know you're never going to listen to this show ever in your life, but I disagree with you completely. Now, I couldn't get a link to his full review, as we typically have seen on Rotten Tomatoes. Usually we can get to it.
Because he's embarrassed.
He's too embarrassed. He's too proud to like a movie as good as this.
Come at me, bro.
So we can move on from him, but I've had enough of him for this week.
So this movie gets a lot of comparisons to Die Hard, kind of like the right man at the wrong time, at the right place kind of thing, where terrorism plots going on. Some guy who has, just happens to be there, has the wherewithal, the power, and the strength, and the determination to save the day. Do you agree with that?
Now, I know that we have spoke about this issue before, and I take issue with it in that I hate how, the first of anything winds up becoming the judge by which everything has to go against. And it's unfair to say that just because a guy is trying to foil a plot, it's automatically a Die Hard movie. And I think that's a little unfair to every movie ever. Yeah,
but if you look at the facts here, it's terrorists taking over a building, going to do X, Y, and Z if you don't give him 1, 2, and 3. To rattle off a few, Home Alone, Snakes on a Plane, Toy Soldiers, Under Siege, Passenger 57, Cliffhanger were just a few of them that we come up with on our own about where you take a plot of robbers, terrorists, crooks are trying to do this thing, but this one unsuspecting person
just happens
to be there and has the ability to take them all down.
No, I mean, to kind of speculate on that, like, had Van Damme not been in this situation, would somebody else have rose to the occasion? Like, was John McClane at this game and he just didn't need to do anything because he didn't know that there was something happening?
Yeah, but before we started recording, you brought up a good point as how like this could easily have been the plot to Die Hard 3.
Right.
I mean, it's the same thing. Right.
Well, and to that point, you told me that originally wasn't this script pitched to some pretty famous people, right?
Yeah, I saw, and I don't know how true this is. I mean, this was off of, I think, IMDb's trivia section, which is totally...
It's all wiki.
It's above
it's
water.
Up there with the robots wiki.
So they originally tried to cast Arnold, but I guess he was busy doing True Lies, and they tried to contact Stallone. They wanted Stallone for it. Stone said, don't like the script. Not my style. And Bruce Willis was in the middle of a movie of his own, Die Hard 3. They were filming Die Hard 3.
Which is a great movie.
So he was unavailable. So I guess Van Damme was choice number 4.
But you know what? Let me just call poo-poo on Stallone here for a second. I don't think he would have been the right fit for this movie anyway. And I like Stallone, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I also feel like he was a little bit of his nose in the air at this script. This is a pretty damn good movie. It's written pretty well. I don't think it would have hurt his career. Like, is this better? I think it's on par with Cliffhanger.
I'm pretty sure that in the 94, 95 range, he did The Specialist.
Yeah.
You may have heard of a little movie called The Specialist, which was not very good.
Yeah, like, he did some pretty shitty movies.
But he did do Assassins with Banderas,
That's a great movie.
which I would take that over this.
Yeah, I would too, but this movie wasn't that bad.
No, and let's get back to the point of it being a copy. That's not a bad thing.
Right.
I agree 100% that it's a Die Hard ripoff, quote unquote. Ripoff's kind of a harsh word.
I take issue with the word ripoff.
Yeah, it's a clone.
Okay,
a clone
that's better.
Sounds better. But that's not a bad thing.
It's just like mediocre versus average.
You find out, like, Apple, they invented the iPhone, and then we got Android making up all the smartphones that may eventually outdo the iPhone, and some people's opinions, maybe mine, maybe yours. Android does it better. I don't know.
To each his own.
They don't have a watch,
or
though.
her own.
They don't have a watch.
They do, but, it's... But I think the other thing, too, compared to this movie, and before we wrap up this point, is one thing that I really noticed was the terrorists in this movie just didn't give a shit, man. There was a ridiculously high body count.
This was another old school trope of we're killing civilians,
and I couldn't.
We don't care.
I couldn't find it on moviebodycounts.com.
No,
this is a real website where you get movie body counts.
NBC.com, no,
yeah, NBC.com did not have the body count for this film, and I'm a little disappointed by that. I think you sent me a YouTube video that had all of the pretty much on-screen deaths,
all the Van Damme kills,
Yeah, but there was Powers Booth killing people. There was the guy with the cross earring, the 90s,
yes.
cross earring with a mullet, spraying and praying with the Uzis. A lot of guys with Uzis in this movie.
Can I say the silencers on the Uzis? They weren't really working.
Yeah,
they were loud ass silencers.
Yeah, it was like
they had anti silencers on. They wanted you to hear them coming.
I've never shot. I mean, I've shot handguns before, but I've never shot something like that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely love to just a chance to kind of just shoot one of those things with the silencer on it. Like it's like Call of Duty, like it reduces the recoil, you know? That's what it feels like it would do.
Yeah, you got to put the different perks on. I don't know.
You add a perk on there.
Yeah. You got to get the grip.
Yeah. Get the extended mag, extended grip. But I think like with this movie, I've noticed that the body count was just way high and Powers Booth was just offing everybody. Like, oh yeah, I told you I was going to kill somebody. Boom, you're dead.
Yeah.
Boom, you're dead. Oh, your wife's dead. Oh, you're dead too. Oh, you're gonna go to mourn her.
He wasn't even angry. No emotion. No emotion. It's just flat out terrorism.
And I think we'll get to him later, and we can talk about him on the villain scale as we like to do.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
I think that he's pretty up there for me.
And another thing I wanted to quick go on was how does this movie rank as far as event terrorism takeover plot type thing? So I have a couple here that we listed up. One was Naked Gun 1, where they brainwashed Reggie Jackson at a World Series game.
Great.
So when the game ends, Reggie Jackson was supposed to assassinate the Queen of something. I don't know if it was England.
Queen of England or
Might
something?
have been the Queen of England. It's been a while. And so I'm drawing a blank. What's the guy's name?
Leslie Nielsen?
Leslie Nielsen,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
sorry. So Leslie
Frank
Nielsen
Garvin or
makes
something?
his way to become home plate umpire to make sure the game extends. He's calling every pitch a ball.
That's a classic
And it's an
move.
outrage, and everybody's pissed off. And he's throwing people out left and right. You got that one. You got Naked Gun 33 and a third.
The award show.
at
Was
the,
it
at the Oscars, right?
Yeah.
Right, where Phil Donahue.
Yeah.
Where he mistakes himself as Phil Donahue. Very awesome.
One of my personal favorites, Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo, which I
Yes.
guarantee nobody's seen this movie. You should go watch it right now. It's
Yes.
pretty funny. They hijacked the Man Whore Awards.
The Man Whore Awards, the
European
Gigolo Awards.
Gigolo
Yeah.
Awards, which was, a really funny plot. And, that can be a whole nother topic
Yeah.
for another day, but that was a good one too. Did you have a couple others?
Some of All Fears and also Dark Knight Rises, where
Yeah.
just let's blow up Heinz Field.
He just starts out with it.
Again, in the Pittsburgh theme.
Yeah.
They're going with Pittsburgh.
Oh, people
here.
must hate Pittsburgh
Yeah,
or
it's
something.
a very blow upable place,
People-
I guess.
People
I don't know.
must hate it.
I've never
know.
been there. I don't know. I hate their sports teams. So is this the best one? I mean, because the whole movie takes place inside of the igloo here.
It's certainly
So-
one of the most ambitious.
Yeah.
I'll say that. The time and planning that we'll get to later that it took, it's pretty up there.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into it, and just gonna preface this by saying this is a great movie, and I totally recommend you watch this movie. But really, we're not going to talk about the plot at all. I mean, really, there's Van Damme becomes the goalie. All right.
That's all you need to know.
So we're going to spend a massive amount of time on that, and rightfully so. Van Damme fights the Penguin mascot, and we're going to talk about that in depth as well.
in the kitchen.
So if you're looking for a plot synopsis, go to Wikipedia or something,
Yeah.
because that's what we're not going to get. We're just going to go to brass tacks, and we're going to talk about, because really all you need to know is Van Damme, kids in the building, terrorists taking over the building,
Bombs rigged.
bombs everywhere.
He's a firefighter.
Once the game hits 0, the building will blow up if Noah Daniels, aka Powers Booth, does not get his money. And there's only one man that can stop him, and it's Van Damme, and he becomes a goalie, and he beats up a mascot. That's all you need to know about this movie.
Ex-firefighter with a lot of baggage.
Yes.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So, and if you haven't seen it, you just listen to this. It
Yes.
doesn't matter. We're not going to, there's spoilers abound, but you can enjoy it just as much if you haven't seen it. We encourage you to listen to this too, because, we're going to break it down a little bit on some of our favorite scenes.
So let's just not beat around the bush. Let's get right into brass tacks. Van Damme makes his way onto the ice to play goalie in the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7, and stops a breakaway. Now, we'll get into the minute details of this in a bit. I just want to ask you, didn't it seem that this was just like a cool shit scene
Yes.
where it's not really necessary? It doesn't really drive the plot forward at all, because he comes in there, he makes one save that a regular goalie could do to try to like keep the game from stopping, pretty much from ending. It wasn't really necessary to the plot, was it?
I think it was one of those things that we're talking about now, what is it? 10 years later, 20 years later,
20
excuse
years
me?
later.
20, wow, I'm old.
Yep.
20 years later, we're talking about this movie. And that's the scene that we go back to. And I think that's exactly why they put it in.
Yeah.
They wanted something ridiculous that would be talked about for
Yeah.
20 years.
Let's be honest, this movie, we wouldn't be doing this episode, and this movie wouldn't be talked about now if that scene hadn't existed. And as an aside, I wanted to mention earlier, this movie is currently running on Cinemax.
Oh, you
So
should watch it.
If you do have Cinemax, that's the most likely place where you can find it without having to rent it.
The thing about this scene, though, is it's one of my favorite things. So, like, obviously, we try not to break down the plot to the point where we're regurgitating it. What we like to do is just kind of get into the head of the character and get into what the hell was he thinking?
Yeah.
Like, he was running for his life. He's in
Right.
the locker room as these guys are chasing him, and he's sitting there, and he sees the goalie, Tolliver, who had 104 fever, which we can talk about all day
Yeah.
on that, too. He leaves the game, tells the coach he's got to get out. He's laying on the table, the trainer's table.
No trainer, by the way.
Yeah.
The goalie is sitting there in his full pads by himself with like an oxygen mask
Yeah.
on. So he's hurt. He's down and out. He's passed out.
You know my theory, I didn't tell you this before.
Yeah.
Like we always said, like how the hell did he get the pads off of Tolliver?
Yeah.
He was dead. He probably died.
He might have been dead on the
He
floor.
had 110
He had no
fever.
trainer helping him out. So
The trainer need to go back there, get him some Tylenol,
Yeah.
get this guy an IV, man. He's like he's dying on the
Yeah.
on the ice.
right. So my first question to you is: you played hockey, right? You were
Yeah.
a goalie, right?
Yes.
I don't know. Was it ice hockey or was it street
It was
hockey?
all kinds of street hockey,
So-
not ice
all right.
hockey.
So just street hockey. How long did it take you to put your equipment on
Now,
in just street
if
hockey?
I'm in street hockey, like I got the pads, I got to put that on. I played without a chest protector because I was too poor to have one. So that was a pretty terrible idea, just getting shot at in the chest.
Yeah.
But I had the pads, I had the leg pads. I mean, those things alone, sometimes it takes you a while to get them
lace them
strapped
up.
up, right? You got to
lace them
stretch.
up.
You gotta, I'm not able to do splits like Van Damme is, but you gotta lace that stuff up. You gotta make sure you're in. I mean, he's in full gear. Like his jersey and everything just fit perfectly.
And let me ask you, for a full-on NHL goalie with all those official pads, don't you think like he gets help? Do the goalies get help getting dressed?
They put stuff on, but somebody's gonna help with some things.
Right.
Like maybe you need to really make those pads tight. You have somebody helping you out, trainer, assistant.
He gets dressed in an instant. Now, I'm not going to harp on that. I just thought it was really funny.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So in order to escape getting murdered from these henchmen, so he puts on the gear in no time flat, skates back on the bench. Now, as at this point, the coach thinks he's hurt. His name's Tolliver, the real goalie that he stole the pads from.
Right.
He's on the bench, nervous. He saved his own life. He was gonna die.
Which his face is face in the scene is one of my favorite pictures of all time, and we'll make it the cover art for the website. Yeah. But his face when he's standing there, like he's looking like the helmet doesn't fit him right, and his head is like moving, not his eyes. And the coach puts his hand on. He's like, "Get the F back in, there.
Get in. You're our starting goalie. It's game 7. Let's go."
Now I'm sorry, but Ken Reggett's the backup.
Yeah,
and we've all played NHL '95. Mm-hmm. You might have had a sub Ken Reggett in once or twice. Yeah. Make a substitution. Maybe
start on the bench.
Maybe Tom Barrasso gets hurt. Tom Barrasso gets hurt. Drop. You got to put in Ken Reggett. So we're hockey fans. We like hockey. We'll be the first to admit it. Ken Reggett has a pretty good record of being a backup in 94, 95 at this time. I think they should have just let him in.
Yeah, they're going to let Reggett in versus having this 104-degree fever Tolliver, who's looking kind of shaky.
He left because he got scored on.
Literally doesn't quite look like himself.
No.
If you look into his eyes.
He's a little bit shorter.
Literally.
He has a helmet on, so I guess, you don't question it. No one talks to him.
You look a little funny there, Tolliver, but get your ass in there, coach.
He goes back in, and the action starts coming towards his end, and he's sitting there going, "Oh my God, don't come over here. Please don't come over here." Puck gets cleared. Long story short, he's safe for a second.
Yeah.
I
hearken it back to the Rookie of the Year movie. Remember the movie Rookie of the Year?
Yes.
Where he finally has to have an at bat, and he's like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." He keeps saying that over. That's what he was thinking.
He gets walked.
Yeah.
The walk was the ball or the puck getting cleared to the other end of the ice. Well, here comes a breakaway on the way back at him. I don't know who it was, but I'm just gonna pretend it was like, I don't know.
It was Tony Amonte.
Let's pretend it was Tony Amonte.
Yeah.
Or Chris Chelios. So one of these guys. Yeah. And it's coming back at him. He's getting a breakaway, and he's like sitting there, and he's standing in the net. He's not going to the top of the crease. As if any hockey fans watching this, you're like, dude, challenge the shooter, man. You're like in the net. He might as well have been in the net. Right. He's a pretty small dude.
Yeah.
So he's standing there. Do you think he makes this save in real life? If a fireman who played semi-pro hockey,
not a chance. Now, here's my gripe with the save. I'm not upset that he made the save. He has to make the save. He's got to look like a hero. That's fine. What I want to know is, how come he didn't utilize a split while making a save? Because it's freaking Van Damme.
And you know what?
It's the perfect chance to do it.
This is one of the movies where I think that he doesn't do a split the entire time.
It's a debatable split. We'll get into it.
But you're right. He should have done a split.
It was an easy chance for him to do a split and make a glove save.
And like the Johnny Cage dick punch, he could have just threw the glove up and got it.
Yeah.
But he kind of did like a sideways, stack the pad
He did
save,
a kick the leg out,
kick save,
raise the glove hand up save.
Was it one
snatch
of those
it out of midair?
Percentages, like his hand just kind of happened to be there and
I
saved it?
I think it was poor positioning, and he got lucky. He closed his eyes.
So let's rate him as a hockey goalie.
So yeah, why does it make sense that he's a goalie?
So you find out earlier in the film that he played semi-pro hockey.
They foreshadowed it.
His dad, he was in the locker room talking to Tolliver, and his kid made some comment about how dad said you need a rocking chair, and Tolliver makes some smart ass remark and basically craps on him and says, "Yeah, well, you should see the type of hockey we play." Basically, getting tough guy on him.
Yeah.
But we find out that he had a semi-pro career.
Yeah, so it was like, so Van Damme played hockey once. You're watching this in the first 10 minutes of the movie, like, okay, that's nice. Van Damme used to play hockey.
Now, what team did he play for? Is he playing for like the Phantoms, the Hershey Bears?
Well, I don't know much about Canadian League semi-pro, but I imagine it's a lot more intense than the AHL in America.
Was he trying to become a hockey player and like being a firefighter was like the fallback? Like what was the plan? I want to know more about this.
See, they didn't say where he grew up. I want to assume he grew up in Canada.
Yeah.
And he had the pads on since he was 4 years old. It was his dream to be a hockey player. And you know what? He just wasn't good enough.
And he spoke fluent French to all the players.
Sure.
He was speaking to Luc Robitaille, another 90s great.
His form showed. I mean, he didn't rush up and challenge the puck.
Yeah.
He stayed down in the net. You know what? He's not the prototypical size for a hockey player. He's a little smaller. That went against him too. So he had to fall back into being a fireman.
He's got the splits. He's got the splits down.
He's got the flexibility. Sure does.
So after he's done doing this, he decides that, well, I made that save. I'm probably going to make another one. I got to get out of this game.
Yeah, I have to get out of this game. A, I have to get out of this game. And B, this game's about to end. At this point, the Penguins, he's playing for the Penguins. It's Game 7, Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
When the game ends, the building will blow up. So there's like 4 minutes left, and he's got to do something. His daughter's in the booth with the terrorist
With
and
Power's
the vice president. Yeah, with Power's booth. And he's got to do something. If he's standing there in goal, A, he's going to give up another goal, probably. And B, he cannot make action. He's one of the only people in the entire world that know that this plot, a terrorist plot, is going on. Everyone else is oblivious to it, except for the people on the outside. And
no one's in or out.
No one's allowed in or out. It's
Place is on lockdown.
Yeah, it's on lockdown. So he's got to get out of there. How does he get out of there, Drew?
He decides to just tap somebody on the shoulder.
Yeah.
For all we know, it might have been freaking Tony Amani. I don't know.
That was Chris Chelios.
And he just taps him on the shoulder and gives the guy like a hook.
A vicious hook.
It was a vicious hook, and he just knocks the dude out. Now, again, if you're a fan of hockey, you're going to know he just put his team shorthanded after he made a save. They're down by a goal.
Down by one goal.
And it starts a brawl, which is going to wind up being a 4-on-3.
Yes.
It's going to be game is kind of, he's out of there. It's going to be a 4-on-3. 4-on-3, with like 3 minutes to go, down by one goal.
The odds of them scoring a shorthanded goal in this situation are beyond less than 1%. So he screwed himself over because the only chance he had really to do this is for the game to go to overtime.
Right.
And with him punching that guy, that's another reason why he never made it as a hockey player, because his game awareness is just
so bad.
Nowhere to be found.
It's like a 50.
Yeah. He, like you said, he could have just, said he was hurt.
Yeah, I got to get out.
The bench.
I'm going to lose the game.
He decided to punch the guy to get disqualified, putting his team in a tremendous disadvantage and relying on Luc Robitaille to score a game-tying breakaway goal with 0 seconds left to put the game into sudden death.
Now, assuming that this goal, let's assume that this was a real thing.
Yeah.
That was a real thing. Where would that goal go down in history? Would that be? And again, it's not a game winner; it's a game tying.
Game tire. Put the game into Sunday. Luc Robitaille, hero. Luc Robitaille saved the city of Pittsburgh.
Get the parade out, whether they win the cup or not.
Yeah,
like put this
he
guy.
Saved the city.
Make a statue.
Yeah,
because that was the craziest goal I've ever seen. Especially assuming it was a 4-on-3.
Yeah,
man, that was ridiculous.
What kind of defense was Chicago playing? That's
not very good
garbage defense, by the way.
Gotta
allow a 4-on-3 breakaway.
Swiss cheese defense.
But what is the sports equivalent? This is so unheard of. What's the sports equivalent? I liken it to World Series Game 7, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, inside the park home run to tie the game.
Yeah,
that's like
really
the amount.
is.
That's like the odds of this happening. That happened.
It's kind of like the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Like if the game was tied and the Seahawks were about to score right there, and the game's tied or whatever, and that dude picks the ball off and runs it back for a touchdown and wins the game like that. I mean, you win a tied game, something like that. Like it's really ridiculous. It's not even to the point where it's a field goal, because a field goal is too set up. It's got to be an
instant play. Yeah.
Instant play.
I like it.
It's over.
I like it. So I think we can both agree that at least Van Damme is believable as a goalie, right?
Right.
I mean, he's got the splits, the flexibility. He can do the job.
He looked good enough.
Yeah. What about what's the equivalent for like other sports? Like if you had to pick one actor to like be the quarterback in the Super Bowl that could like switch spots with Peyton Manning or Tom Brady.
So you're saying like a game-winning drive, like Brady goes down and you got to get a guy that's in.
So let's suspend disbelief, and like obviously a goalie can be on his own and you don't know it's him really if you're looking at him. Let's pretend like, you have to stick an actor in there. What actor would be believable to go on a game-winning Super Bowl drive?
The character actor or like the actual actor?
No, the actual actor. I don't care if it was Jamie Foxx in Any Given Sunday. We all know his character was good.
So one of the first people that comes to mind is Jamie Foxx, because he was good in that.
Yeah.
But I think I would go with a guy, and Ty, our friend Ty from Solid Verbal was talking about this too. We had a good conversation about this on G-Chat the one day. And I think that he went with Brad Pitt, because Brad Pitt used to be a quarterback.
Right.
You know, there's people like Dean Cain that we know were out
he's
there.
He's a natural leader. That's what you need. You need leadership, you need athleticism, and you need the body type.
And the poise.
Yeah, the poise. Right. See, I agree. I think Pitt is a good choice. He's fit.
Who's your choice?
Obviously, he's a leader. Not tall enough. I'm going Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks is like 65 years old.
I don't care about the age. We're doing this in a vacuum. No age is required. This movie's back in 95. We'll pretend it's 95.
Is this like big Tom Hanks?
No, this is 90. This is
Castaway?
95. This is 95 Tom Hanks. This is almost like Forrest Gump Tom Hanks.
All right.
Yeah.
Dude, skinny, man.
No. He got skinny because he was Forrest Gump.
He's like 65 years old.
He was running everywhere. He was running. By the way, he was a star running back for Alabama, so I don't want to hear it.
That's it.
So
we're like pulling all of the actors' characters into like their one power.
He's a leader. He led a troop in World War II.
Like they can harness all of their previous acting abilities.
He's got the build. He's 6'1". I looked this up. He's 6'1".
How heavy is
180 pounds. He's got the build for it.
He's like real thin.
No. 6'1", 180 is fine. Like Tom Brady's 180 pounds. I don't want to hear it. He's a leader of men. He's confident. You could put him in any role, and he does a good job. He's my quarterback.
Well, what about like a different sport?
Yeah.
If I'll go with you on that, I would pick Brad Pitt over Tom Hanks.
Okay.
I think he'd be able to call the right plays.
Yeah.
We'll just forget about someone knowing exactly how to say spider 2 Y banana or whatever the hell the play is. They have to know the offense. But what about like, let's say you got a World Series, like we talked about, inside the park home run. What about like you got to have a closer, like a pitcher.
Got a closer?
Like, who's your closer? Who would you pick? Like, somebody that's got to pitch 3 outs.
I'm going Kevin Costner. He's got pitcher's body.
Like,
right?
like old Kevin Costner?
I'm going old, like, for the love of the game. Like, and I know I'm putting aside his skills and for the love of the game.
Yeah.
But he has that, like, dumpy, but also kind of athletic body, Like
dad bod?
Yeah, little dad bod.
He's
If you
got dad
remember,
bod.
you're not a huge baseball guy.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Rod Beck.
I know who that is. Yeah.
He's a reliever. Like, he's kind of fat.
Yeah.
Like, Kevin Costner, I'm going Kevin Costner.
I'm going Matthew McConaughey.
That's a good
because
pull.
I feel like he's got the pitcher body. Like, he's kind of like thin.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like recent Matthew McConaughey, like after he starved himself to be a True Detective.
Yeah.
And like, whatever else he's been in, Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, there's two types of reliever body. There's the dumpy body, and then there's like the rail thin, gangly, lengthy body. And Matthew McConaughey certainly falls into that category.
He's got the attitude for it too.
Yeah, he's very cool, calm, and collected. He's a little kooky.
What about Rookie of the Year? That kid from American Pie, as I said before.
If you're using his arm strength, he'd be better suited to be a closer. They put him out there as a starter, and I don't think he has the stamina to be a starter.
That was just poor coaching right there by that guy.
He's got to be the closer.
Sidney Poitier.
Yeah.
But what about field goal kicker?
Field goal kicker. See, my theory about field goal kicker body is they have to be skinny fat.
Like, again, dad bod? Is that what it is?
No, not so much dad bod. It's kind of like you have to be very skinny.
Like a beer gut.
Yeah, a little bit of a beer gut. I guess you call it dad bod. I don't like the term dad bod because it's beer gut.
It's beer gut.
They substituted beer gut for dad bod. I don't like that.
It's sexy, man.
Yeah, I'm going Ed Norton. He kind of has a goofy look on his face, and kickers usually have goofy looks. And the rest just falls into place. Who you got?
I'm picking Will Ferrell. I'm picking Will Ferrell.
That's a kicker's body
because he's crazy and he has like that little fold of fat on his stomach.
He might be too tall. I don't know,
man. I think I'm picking Will Ferrell. I think he's going to be able to nail a 55-yarder. Like I'm talking like as clock expires,
like a sea bass, a Sebastian Janikowski type
exactly.
body.
Sea bass. He looks just like him.
I'll take that.
So getting back to McCord and his amateur skills.
Let's get back on track with at least some sudden death talk.
Back on track. We don't want to go too far off the rails.
Yeah.
How would you compare, again, it's sort of sudden death, but not really. How would you compare Darren McCord's amateur career to Gordon Bombay's amateur career? Like, who do you think was better?
They're very similar.
It further?
They're very similar.
Who made it further and who has more potential?
I think that Bombay probably made it further, although it's not stated specifically.
Sure.
And also, Bombay is, well, I guess you could say both of their careers kind of went off the rails. I mean, Van Damme for a tragedy of losing a girl in a fire, which we learned in the first minute of the movie, and Bombay becoming an alcoholic lawyer.
And almost crashing his car.
But it seems like Bombay was always in the sport. He still knew what was going on in the sport. He had Hans in his childhood.
Mentoring him.
Yeah, and he still kind of kept tabs with him. So he knew about that. I'm going to go Bombay because he was more invested in the game.
Let me paint a scenario for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What about the scenario that, Gordon Bombay happens to be in attendance at this game? This exact game. He took the kids from Minnesota, took them on a road trip to Pittsburgh.
All of them?
All of them.
So
I'm
he
saying
got,
all of them.
He got the whole team in
Yeah.
Game 7.
And they're in Game 7. You know, he knew a guy who knew a guy
Mr.
who knew...
Duckworth shell out these tickets?
Duckworth knew a guy who knew a guy who knew Ron Francis, or maybe Mario Lemieux.
Yeah.
He gave him the tickets. He got some family tickets. They're in the suite up there.
All right.
And Darren McCord's not here to save the day.
Okay.
Darren McCord, he was fighting a fire somewhere
Right.
else. He was at the Pee Wee game.
Yes.
Doing fire marshaling there.
Mm-hmm.
Would Bombay, in this situation, I'm not saying he's a goalie, would he have the balls and the fortitude to actually suit up
Yes.
and try to score a goal? Like, replace the situation where
Yeah.
the game's
So-
down, put him in Robitaille's shoes.
So his team's down. He needs to score in order
Yeah.
to make the game go to sudden death and not have the building explode.
You think he could skate against 5 dudes and get down there? Or I guess it would be 4-on-3.
Yeah,
so.
against the Blackhawks goalie was
Ed Belfour.
Ed Belfour. Yes.
I don't know if it was in this game, but it was in my head.
Yeah.
Ed Belfour.
So would his triple deke work against Eddie Belfour, a pro hockey player in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals? You're asking me if an amateur hockey player
Yeah.
could pull off a Pee Wee triple deke move against probably the Vezina Trophy winner at that time.
At that time, yeah.
I'm going to say no, and the building explodes 4 minutes later.
With him on the ice.
Yeah. No disrespect to Gordon Bombay's skills, but it's easier to make one lucky save with your eyes closed than it is to score on a professional goalie.
He couldn't take it to the house. He couldn't take it to sudden death.
He missed that shot against the kid in Pee Wee's, and it haunted him for years. He doesn't have the mental stability to score in the game in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Well, let me turn it on its head now and say, what if, let's go back to Mighty Ducks, and let's say that what if Van Damme, Darren McCord, had played against Team Iceland. Let's say Team Iceland is okay. There's some Icelandic terrorists.
We're going on a big tangent
and
here.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Sorry to everybody. But what if he took, he wound up they took control of the arena,
Yes.
Team Iceland of the Junior Olympics.
Okay, this is getting international.
Van Damme, this is an international incident.
All right.
Call up the president.
Yeah,
and Van Damme has to go in there, and it's kind of like Speed, in that he has to have a shutout.
Yeah, that's
like
the stipulation.
They can't score.
That's the stipulation
against Pee Wee kids though. Now, do you think anybody on Team Iceland would have been able to score against him in goal? I'm talking Darren McCord.
Iceland's as much kids, right?
Right.
And Van Damme somehow got into Goldberg's goalie gear.
Yeah.
And he has to shut out the whole game.
It's a little small. It's a little snug.
Easy, yes. And you know what? I'm going to go a step further. Not only will Van Damme pitch a shutout in this game, I, myself, with no hockey background, will pitch a shutout against Pee Wee kids.
You would.
They're kids. I'm going to stop every single shot. No 9-year-old's going to beat me to a goal. I don't care. I've skated once in my life. I've never played goalie. It doesn't matter. I'm too big for them. I'm too skilled. I've more life experience. I know where they're going before they know where they're going.
You're going to stop every shot?
Yeah.
Can you ice skate?
No. I skated one time when I was like 9 years old, and I think I got a concussion. I hit my head. And that's it. And my ankles hurt.
This is back before
I have
Roger,
bad ankles.
Back before Roger Goodell decided to do something about it.
Yeah. I stayed in the game.
You went home.
Yeah.
You were a little woozy. Okay. Well, agree to disagree, but I think they would put one past you. No offense.
No.
I just think that
They're kids.
They're too
Kid
good.
can't beat me in anything.
These are
right?
These are junior Olympians that we're talking about.
I'm going to say when a kid's 12, he might be able to beat me in something besides video games.
Like a fight?
Besides video games.
Oh, kids will kick all of our asses in video games right now.
A kid wouldn't be able to beat me in anything until at least 12.
Listen, I'm tired of 12-year-olds kicking my ass in Call of Duty online. So, there's a rage quit many nights.
Except maybe those gymnasts that go on to the Olympics. They'll beat me.
Yeah.
I can't touch them.
In the high bar.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, enough about that. Let's get to the fight scene with the mascot. This is another one of the big scenes for the movie.
This is scene number 2.
Again, not to break down the plot. We want to analyze the pieces of this. But this was also one of my favorite scenes of any action movie from the entire 90s.
This is why this movie is fun. This is why we're going to spend the majority of time on these 2 scenes, because these are the 2 scenes. It's like this movie wouldn't be existing in folklore. It would be obscure if not for this.
One of the things that makes this scene so good is the fact that again, it's like Under Siege 2. They're fighting in a kitchen.
Yeah.
Now, what the hell's in a kitchen? All kinds of horrors.
Oh.
You've got pepper flakes. You've got a deep fryer. You've got a roast beef slicer. You've got a grill. You've got a dishwasher. Mm-hmm. All of those things. It's like Kevin McAllister would be foaming at the mouth with all the traps that he could set.
Right.
It's just one of those situations where this fight was going to be awesome from the second that you knew they were fighting. Mm-hmm. So this terrorist lady is dressed up as the Penguin.
Yeah.
Icy. She kidnaps the kid, takes her up to the booth, whatever. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. That doesn't matter.
Whatever.
He finds her. Van Damme walks into the kitchen, thinks it's his friend. This woman that he knows, the mascot, who he seems to be pretty chummy with.
that's why he's divorced.
That's another story for another day.
Yeah.
But he seems to be chummy. He asks her, yo, have you seen my daughter? And it's a different voice. He said, oh, the girl got sick. Immediately he knows something's up. And they just start fighting.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's on from the beginning.
It's so good.
Yeah. He has like a machete and she has a gun.
Yeah.
He brought a knife to a gunfight.
He did.
So
He really did.
yeah, like you said, this scene is set up. It's choreographed very well. There's a lot of like danger in this scene. Is he going to get burned by the grill? Is he going to get his face sliced off? Is he going to go in the grill? Like there's so many ways, and they tease everything very expertly. And there's not a lot of. It's more of a brawl than it is a kung fu type fight, which is what we know Van Damme more for.
Right.
So,
and we talked about that a little bit, but we didn't get into it. But I feel like this is one of the movies that he's done the least martial arts.
Right.
Like he did a bunch of high kicks. I mean, he was kicking the mascot in the face. But having said that, he didn't really do crazy moves. They were getting thrown through the table. They're getting dragged along the table, and the counter, stuff flying everywhere. It wasn't as much a choreographed fight.
And I think it makes sense because his character is a firefighter. He's not a cop. He's not some crazy ex-military guy. He's not supposed to know kung fu.
That's called method acting, man.
So it's good writing, actually. It would be out of place if he was doing split kicks.
He's doing roundhouse kicks and splits.
Right.
And
he does do one kick to the face of this penguin mascot, which the mascot, the head is like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
He gets a kick up there to the nose. It's pretty damn high. So that's pretty impressive.
Well, I was asking you earlier, like, why the hell did she leave the helmet on or the hat? Because it's like, how could you see? You're trying to do like some pretty good fighting.
Because most of his shots were going to the head area, and it barely phased her. It was padding.
It was padding.
Yeah. So, and speaking of that padding, leads me to this question. Who's the toughest mascot in sports? Like, what kind of mascot would be easiest or hardest to fight?
Yeah, so I think that's a complicated question with a complicated answer.
Right.
And we talked a little bit about this. We can rank Iceberg or Icy against other mascots, but you helped me break this down, and you did it so perfectly. There's categories.
You have to go by style.
There's categories of mascots. So you've got a couple different kinds. 4
total styles of mascots in sports that you can go by. One is the big padded mascot.
What is that, like the Philly Fanatic?
That's the Philly Fanatic. That's this mascot, Iceberg, where the entire body is puffy and fat, huge head on top.
Can't really move.
Can't move. You can't hurt it, but it can't really hurt you that much either.
Yeah.
The second style is the big-headed human body mascot, which is made famous by the Nationals presidents in
like
baseball.
Teddy Roosevelt,
and George Washington. And also the Ohio State Buckeye, where it's a human body with a huge-ass head on top. Very hard to see and hard to move, I'm sure.
It's more of a nuisance than anything.
The third style is the full-body Halloween costume, kind of like the Phoenix Gorilla, Swoop from the Eagles, Benny the Bull, and like the Nittany Lion.
Like something that they're dressed, but they can still perform tricks, like go dunking. They could do flips on a trampoline or something.
They have body movement, and they don't have any restrictions of a huge apparatus.
An apparatus,
if you will. And the final stage is the human in a Party City costume.
Like you go down to Party City, grab one from the like plastic bag that's hanging on the wall.
You want to dress like an Indian, and
dress
here
like
we go.
a cop.
There's the Florida State Seminole. You want to dress like a Viking, there's the Minnesota Viking there with the fur on.
Dress like a colonial guy, you're the New England Patriots guy.
You're the Patriot with a bayonet, and a cannon.
The one thing I would say, and we can break this down real quick. If I was voting of like all types of which are the toughest ones in a fight, I'm gonna say there's different categories, right? So like as we said, I think the padding is definitely like armor, and that's really good.
Right.
The human head, I'm just ruling them right out because it's just going to be a nuisance. It's going to get in the way. You're going to be top heavy. You're going to fall over. Mm-hmm. The full body Halloween costume, it's just like enough to restrict your movement. Like it doesn't do anything positive for you. It's not armor enough that you can, get kicked in the face and keep moving. But it's also enough to like keep you to get like you're sweating, like you can't overheat.
You're not comfortable.
Like imagine Nittany Lion. It's like you just have like this thing in your face. Like get out of here. I want to fight somebody.
Yeah, you're not comfortable.
Give me the human in the Party City costume because you've got the Florida State Seminole who's got the spear.
It's all about the props, baby.
You've got the USC Trojan who's got the sword.
Yeah.
You've got the Minnesota Viking with all the Viking stuff.
He's probably got horns on his shoes.
And the Patriots, they got a freaking gun.
Yeah.
They're gonna beat those guys any day. Otherwise, if props are not involved, I'm taking the padded mascot.
The fat padded mascot.
They could take a beating.
Yeah. The Philly Fanatic.
They could take a beating. Yeah. Who would you rather fight?
Yeah, I would. The weakest has to be the big-headed human body because you just give them body shots all day and they can't they can't sway anything. Then they take the head off, in which they become a Party City costume mascot with no props.
Yeah.
So then they're screwed.
Then they just have the exposed head, no helmet.
I 100% agree with your full body mascot. No big head, no fat body, because you are sweaty and you got nothing going. So yeah.
Well, I want to leave this section with a question that you asked me earlier.
Yeah.
What's harder, doing karate in a penguin suit or in wet jeans? Like in Roadhouse.
Throwing it back to Roadhouse. Doing kung fu in wet jeans.
I mean, they're weighing you down.
Yeah. It's easier to be the mascot because at least you have some padding. If you're in those wet jeans, you can't lift your leg. I don't care if you're Patrick Swayze. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you're the bad guy with the earring that's getting kicked. I don't care.
The boat anchor earring.
The boat anchor earring. You can't lift your leg. I don't care how athletic you are. It's over.
The jeans.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. Wet jeans, it's game over. You got to change immediately if your jeans are wet.
You might as well just take them off.
Yeah. Fight in your underwear.
Fight in those bikini briefs.
You know what, that guy from Roadhouse, he looks like the kind of guy that doesn't wear underwear. Or he's got leopard patterned bikini and he was too embarrassed.
Swayze doesn't wear underwear, as we learned in that
of course
movie.
he doesn't. Yeah.
he wakes up out of bed and he puts those pants on.
Does flips off of the window.
I'm sorry, but get a wedgie in jeans.
Yeah.
Get out of here. That's gonna burn, man.
Can we talk about Roadhouse again for another hour?
We should do another episode on Roadhouse. It was so good. But anyway, we digress again. Let's just dig into Darren McCord just a real quick minute here. We don't have to spend too much time on him.
A minute.
Just a little bit of time. Let's talk about him. So, obviously, we said it before. He's been divorced.
Yeah, who is Darren McCord?
Darren McCord is his firefighter. He's been divorced, right? We find out that, his one son acts kind of like a dick to him.
Now, let me back you up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So he was a firefighter.
Yes.
So we find out in the opening scene that he was in a blazing house fire and he lost the little girl. The girl died in his arms. He couldn't save her. And I guess it bugged him so much. Screen fade to black, fade back in, movie starts up again 2 years later. He is not a firefighter anymore. He's disgraced. Maybe not by the public, by his own doing.
Like he felt so guilty about it that he had to quit his job.
He didn't have the heart for it anymore. And I liken it to, you're a surgeon. Say you're a surgeon. You're not going to save everyone. Somebody's going to die there on the operating table. You don't stop being a surgeon. You have to put it away. You have to move on. You have to have a mental makeup to be in that type of profession. And he just didn't have it.
I agree with you. I mean, I'll tell you what he did have. He had explosive training. And that's one thing that I think, without digging back into some of the stuff that we already talked about, he's a man of many skills.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the hell he learned all this stuff. Maybe he spent 2 years like on an island somewhere learning all of these skills that he got. But he knows how to disarm bombs.
Yeah, he's disarming bombs all over the damn building.
He knows how to really expertly take, every piece of thing that's sitting around the room. He turns a fire extinguisher into a projectile device where he shoots a pin out of his arm in the guy's neck.
He's MacGyvering shit in this whole movie.
He creates a homemade mason jar bomb. He hot wires the roof of a stadium to open.
The retractable roof.
Which they don't even open.
He just rubbed two wires together. I don't think it works that way, Drew.
They didn't even open that. And, at that point, they stopped opening it, like you said. But he was able to do that. I mean, he was able to do a hell of a lot of things. He saw his son's super soaker. Yeah. He turns it into a freaking flamethrower. Like, I'm talking the most amount of flames I've ever seen, a lighter and a super soaker. Now, these are all things that make this movie so memorable. And I think it's so fun. Like, they don't make movies like this anymore. And when they do, they call it The Expendables, and it's supposed to be making fun. Like, this movie was made not tongue-in-cheek. It was made seriously.
Right.
And that's why the 90s were so great.
Right.
And that's my old man speech of the day.
Right. Now, the throwback that I wish had happened was when he's killing some of these people, he kills them in ridiculous ways.
Yeah.
He doesn't have he doesn't have the killer line to go with
like
it.
An Arnold line,
that's how you know it didn't go beyond the tongue in cheek thing. Like he snaps a chicken bone off and stabs a guy in the neck for one kill, and he didn't have like a cheesy line. Like he doesn't go like, "Hey, I have a bona" or something like that. Like he didn't say that, or "Hey, bon appetit." Like he doesn't say that. And he could have put me in the writing room. He would have said that, and maybe the movie doesn't do as good. Or in the penguin, when he kills the penguin, he fastens her in the huge dishwasher, the industrial dishwasher. Yeah. He didn't say like, "Hey, dishwasher," more like a bitch washer. Like he could have said that, and he didn't say that. And these are the type of things that he could have said.
Had Arnold been in this movie, would they have done that?
Of course.
I mean, I feel like that's in his contract,
Yeah, of course.
But like I agree with you, and I think that kind of leads me back to this. I think that Van Damme actually works really well in this movie. I think he's perfectly casted. Like, I'm kind of glad. I think it could have worked with Bruce Willis in it. Like, he's the only other person. I don't think this would have worked with Arnold. Yeah. Like, I don't think you could see him stopping that shot.
Right.
Whoever plays this has to be able to stop a shot. Whoever's in this role has to be able to be believable as like a fire marshal or whatever. Just, I mean, not to get too deep into that. I just think that he really works in this movie. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I said that, talking about disarming bombs.
Yeah.
I thought this was funny because back in the day, at this time, 94, 95, this would have been tried to be made to like a video game. Now, maybe it exists that I don't know about, but this would have been a video game where you like have a timer where you've got to disarm the bombs and the controls just don't freaking work.
It's not advanced enough.
You want to go on another old man speech?
Yeah.
Kids these days don't understand, like how these games used to work. Mm-hmm. It was like you couldn't beat it.
Yeah.
No one beat it.
And you had lives and continues. And once you're out of continues,
it's over.
You have to start from the beginning.
F you, you're done.
I liken it to the Ninja Turtles level in the water for regular Nintendo where you have to disarm the bombs and the controls are so bad and you get stung by the electric eels or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so infuriating. You just want to snap the game in half. And that's what this game would have been.
And I bet it would be this game. Like, I mean, I'm thinking about all these Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, like back in the 90s. They were just so damn hard.
Judge Dredd. Yeah. It was like, I think Demolition Man.
The original Batman game was
Batman,
really
Terminator
hard.
had a game. It was impossible.
I mean, don't even forget Mega Man.
Yeah.
Mega Man was goddamn near impossible sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, long story short, Van Damme, I think, is perfectly casted in this film.
Now, before we move on from Van Damme, he was a divorced man, right?
Yeah.
And I think maybe it gave him the chip on his shoulder that he needed to rise to this heroics and maybe get his swagger back from losing that girl. Who divorces Van Damme?
An idiot.
I mean, he's very suave. He's very good looking. And he seems like a good man. Did the death of the girl weigh on him so much that it turned him into a different person?
Now, maybe he was emotionally disconnected and his marriage suffered. Now I would say that, maybe that's grounds for divorce. Maybe he wasn't the same person that she married. Mm-hmm. Maybe it just didn't work out. Maybe he divorced her.
Maybe.
We never even thought about that. Maybe he said, you know what, I can't.
I'm not good enough for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe he divorced her out of guilt.
That seems to make sense because the son makes a couple of snide comments throughout this movie.
That kid was a dick.
Like, Dad's not a fireman anymore.
He's changing light bulbs.
Yeah, he's just changing light bulbs. He's just a stupid fire marshal. Dad's not a fireman anymore. He couldn't handle it. Like what kind of dick kid says that?
I agree with you, and I think that
your theory may be true on that. And also another thing I wanted to talk about is family life before we move on. There's a small scene, it's very unimportant, about when he comes in with the tickets and he tries to take the kids to the game. And the wife is like, "Oh, you can't do this. We had plans. It's his birthday. We were going to go out to dinner." And next to him is the new husband, the wife remarried.
The safe guy.
Yeah. It's always a safe guy. That's in these movies that's remarried. It's always like a computer salesman or an insurance salesman or a therapist.
A psychiatrist
with
or something.
The soft touch, who's always like doesn't know his role when the husband shows up and is very like, is kind of nervous.
Awkward.
You know what, honey? Let him go. Let him go. Let's just let him take the kids to the game. It's always a safe guy, and I love that trope in all these movies.
Now, I know that obviously it was their night to go to dinner.
Yeah.
But it's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and he's got the tickets. The kid's a Penguins fan.
Where were they going? Like a nice restaurant?
Some restaurant.
Where are they going to go to, like Ruby Tuesdays?
I don't care.
Where are they going to go?
I don't care if you're going to the best restaurant in the world. You're going to the White House.
Are they going to Chuck E. Cheese, though?
Get out of here with that.
If you're a 9-year-old kid, you going to Chuck E. Cheese or you're going to Game 7?
You're going to that game. Game 7, kid's a huge Penguins fan. Mm-hmm. Mommy, let me go to that game. I don't give a crap. Anyway, long story short. Next up is, real quick, Noah Daniels.
Yeah, let's talk about Noah Daniels.
Who, if anyone knows 24, Noah Daniels was a vice president, also known as Powers Booth, the actual actor.
And as we mentioned at the top of the show, in his IMDb page, the character was called Joshua Ross? Something. Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
But in actuality, we look back, they never mentioned this guy's name in the entirety of the movie.
Yeah,
so
that was another fact.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been a good move. Like sometimes they put the characters' names like in the cast in the credits.
Yeah,
and they go like unknown or head terrorist. Like
right.
He might as well have been head terrorist because there's no reason for him to be Joshua. They never mentioned his name.
Well, he's got this plan. He wants $1 billion of frozen assets, unfrozen, transferred to his own counts, filtered through that. He's going to lose whatever. It's over $1 billion.
$1.3 billion.
And he wants a third of it at the end of each period. Otherwise, he's going to kill people.
Yeah. he's going to start offing his hostages if they don't give in to his mile markers, for so to speak.
Where do you think this plot ranks in some of the movies that we've done? I mean, forget the script, but for whatever he's done as a real guy, like where do you think this is a pretty diabolical plan? Like the fact that he's able to follow through and actually shoot people on the spot without even thinking.
Yeah, because first of all, this is a very difficult plan to pull off. Like as far as the logistics of moving this money into these accounts. First of all, having people agree to do it, and second of all, the time in which to do it. I mean, the banks aren't open. Who are you gonna call? You got to call these high up people that are probably watching the Stanley Cup Finals. It's just in order to get. Oh, and by the way, they first said, like, I think there was like maybe 5 minutes went by in the first period. And they were like, oh, by the way, you better get a third of this money in already or else I'm going to kill somebody. Yeah. Like, of course they were going to kill somebody. It wasn't realistic that it's going to be done.
And that's what the vice president says. He's like, there's no way we're going to be able to move that kind of money in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And he made his intentions known that, hey, if this money isn't done by the time this game is over, the clock hits 0, I'm blowing this damn building up with me in it. So he's got a death wish. And to top it all off, he never shows any kind of like remorse. And no emotions, no care for his own safety, no care for killing anyone. This guy he's a flat psychopath.
I feel like he's a really good actor. I was glad that he was in this role.
He fit perfectly in this role, and it makes me rank him very highly on the villain scale.
I would put him at least at like a 9.
He's got to be an 8 or a 9 on this villain scale, just for the fact that he just gives 0 Fs at all. No Fs.
And he definitely had planned this out for a while. I mean, there's a lot of planning that goes into this. But you asked me this before. Like, what the hell happens if Game 7 never happens? You're banking on a lot.
I'm not going to bash the plot, but I'm going to have a question that has to be asked. This had to have taken months of planning in advance. What if the Blackhawks would have just won Game 6 and there was no Game 7? Where do you take this plan?
Does he take it the next year and hope there's a Game 7?
Yeah, but you can't bank on that. I mean, you had to specifically scout this arena, the chefs in the kitchen to where they got into the booth. Yeah, the security staff, everything that's taken into this. You have to plan months. You can't just take this to the next event. You can't do it in the Super Bowl in Chicago or the Super Bowl in Los Angeles the next month. It just doesn't work. It takes months of planning. So this is a very big chance. I mean, this had to have been started before the hockey season started. All right, the Penguins are going to be good this year. We think, and they got home ice advantage. We think it's going to go 7 back in training camp.
I'm going to just up this guy to a 10.
Yeah.
For the level of planning that he did in 2 days, because after Game 6, it's like 2 days later. It's like, oh man, we got Game 7.
If they put this plan up in 2 days, he's the best villain of all time.
But did they know that they didn't know that the vice president was going to be at the game until whenever they knew? Like he just happened to show up.
Was the vice president always the target?
It was integral to the plot because they needed the president to be like, they needed a high-ranking
did it have to be the vice president? Could it have been someone of the vice president's stature?
Nobody's going to give a crap if the owner of the Penguins is the guy hostage. Like, I mean, people will care, obviously. It's not it's a bad thing, but not to the level of seriousness of you better transfer that by the end of this period.
What if it was Wayne Gretzky?
People. Wayne Gretzky is a beloved figure.
He's beloved
in hockey.
Well, I guess he's not. He's Canadian though.
If
So
it was you'd
have to hold somebody to ransom in Canada.
The president's not going to care.
Yeah, the
or
prime
maybe
minister.
They care.
You need the PM of Canada. Yeah.
But whatever it is, this guy had some level of planning that the world has never seen before.
I just question. I mean, I'm assuming this takes months and the foresight to see that this game is going Game 7. It took a lot of balls on his part.
He's got a lot of bullshit henchmen. We don't need to get into it. There's a bunch of guys. There's a guy with a bazooka that he was annoyed that the sign was displaying Van Damme was like making messages on the sign to people outside. So he takes a bazooka and just shoots it instead of turning the switch and just turn it off.
Normally people have snipers on the roof.
Yeah.
The Powers booth had bazooka men on the roof.
That reinforces the 10.
Yeah.
This guy's got a bazooka. He shot down like a police helicopter with a thing.
He did.
With a bazooka. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. And the guy had a badass cross earring. Like, how badass did that guy look? He looked so 90s with that.
Who did you say he reminded you of?
I feel like he's Powers Booth's nephew or something.
You said that, and it clicks so much. Now, this is the guy, if you're watching, in the very first couple minutes of the movie, there's a man in a stupid earring that takes an old lady into her house and makes her make a phone call. That's the guy we're talking about. That is the guy's nephew. It has to be,
He looks like it. And when they were getting all chummy in the helicopter before it fell straight backwards.
He's flying the helicopter that tries to have Powers escape. And yes.
It just seemed like his nephew.
It's a very good call.
You've got the computer guy playing Doom, which is such a 90s thing to do.
He looks like David Cross.
Yeah. And then you've got Hallmark, who is the CIA, or I'm sorry, not CIA, the Secret Service.
The Secret Service.
Head of the Secret Service.
The guy in the van, so to speak.
The guy who plays the heel very well, who gets super soaked, like he was soaked in lighter fluid.
Yeah. It's like they're doing the flamethrower all wrong. You don't need that giant thing on your back. All you need is a handheld super soaker and a Zippo. That's
Which
all
is
you
so
need.
good. It's so awesome. It was so great.
Yeah.
But I love how after he got burnt, like he was hiding in the shadows, and instead of actually trying to come out and kill Van Damme, he just scared him. Yeah. Like he came out and his face was all melted, and he was just like, like he came out and tried to scare him.
He looked like Freddy Krueger. I'm scared. I'm
like
scared.
maybe he would scare him with a heart attack versus like actually kill him.
Could happen.
Anything else you want to say about Powers Booth? I mean, I know we don't have much time left here, but he's a pretty badass villain.
I will say that at the end of the movie, after to make a long story short, Van Damme climbs on the roof of the igloo, which is the name of the building.
Great scene.
He shimmies down. He gets into a fight with a guy. He uses some American Ninja Warrior parkour tricks, and basically his homemade bomb in his back pocket. He swings down from the rafters through the hole in the retractable roof to throw it at the vice president's booth.
Yeah, the mason jar.
Yeah, the mason jar. To get into the private suite that the terrorists were in, save his daughter, and have the terrorist plot's completely foiled at this point.
Yeah.
So
he's got to hit the ejector seat.
Right. So the main villain, Powers Booth, he gets away. But he puts on a disguise. And I thought the disguise was like the stereotypical 90s guy in Pittsburgh. Like the quintessential Pittsburghonian. Pittsburghanite?
Pittsburghan.
Yeah, the Pittsburghian.
I don't know what it is.
So he had like a half mullet on. He put on a fake mustache. He looked like Ted DiBiase.
It was like dirty blonde hair. Yeah.
And he had the Penguins leather jacket on. He looked exactly like Ted DiBiase. And I just thought it was perfect.
By the way, that was after somebody fell through the scoreboard and it fell on the ice and disrupted the game.
Yeah, that was the first time that the stadium was clued into shit's going on, and then everybody started rushing. It was a full on riot. He
gets greedy, takes the girl, which McCord is like, "Oh, screw this! I'm coming after you.
You'll
now.
take my daughter."
Yeah, he goes after her. But his death scene was also another thing that just made him awesome. He was in this helicopter. The helicopter starts going backwards through the tiniest crack of the stadium.
Yeah, so he gets in the helicopter, which was poking out the ladder through the retractable roof hole.
Right.
So Van Damme's like, jumps onto the ladder, shoots up through the bottom of the helicopter with some handguns.
That's a genius move right there.
And by the way, does he have weapons training? He's a freaking fireman.
I don't know.
Who's handling guns here? Well, there's more to this story than we know about Darren McCord.
If we had another episode, we could explore that.
So the dead body, I guess, pulls the lever back. Yeah. And so now the
steering
helicopter
wheel,
is at a 90 degrees angle.
The steering wheel of the helicopter.
Yeah, and describe the descent into ice.
He is like the helicopter is going in slow motion, and that's the kind of movie, or that's the kind of thing that you would see on that show back in the 90s, Movie Magic. You know, where they show the models.
Yeah,
like
it was a model.
It was a model, and it was just slowly going back. And again, I hate to be like, oh, that was cool, this was cool, that was cool.
Yeah,
but that was really cool.
No, that was really freaking cool.
We try to avoid that, but it was so good. And
like Chris Farley in SNL, the one skit where he does the interviewer. That was awesome.
It just fell straight backwards. And what the hell was going through his mind at that time? They made eye contact in slow motion. And one of the best deaths in any movie that I've ever seen. Very solid
final death
scene. Such a solid death.
Yeah.
He had the lung capacity to scream for like 3 minutes straight. He was just like over and over and over as he was falling. Yeah. And it just kept cutting off of him, and then it shows Van Damme looking at him. Then it cuts back to
Yeah. Then it shows the helicopter descending slow motion further into the building.
Like slowly fitting through the tightest gap ever.
Misses the Jumbotron.
So good.
Falls straight down into the ice.
Explodes.
And then Van Damme says, "Now that's a good icebreaker." No, he didn't say that.
He should have said it.
Forgive my Van Damme accent at all times.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It takes it to the end of the movie. And it just ends. That's it. He just leaves. Game over.
Yeah, like he they strap Van Damme into a gurney and put him in the ambulance.
I want to know what happened after, man.
Nobody knows. Did he get back together with his wife?
We need a sequel. We need him at the Super Bowl where they try to do it again.
Yeah. Does his son now respect him as a fireman?
He kind of did, because he sat in the seat even if the building was still falling down around him.
A little disrespect. The kid was a little dick, but now he's good.
I know we don't have much time left. I want to get into a recast real quick, because this movie was really good, but they reboot everything in Hollywood, as we know.
Yes.
This movie is dying for a reboot. Now, whether it's, the Super Bowl, whether it's, Game 7 of the World Series, whether it's the freaking Wimbledon or the U.S. Open. Who cares?
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This plot works anywhere.
Mhm.
I want to ask you, if they rebooted this in Hollywood, who would you pick to play Darren McCord?
Well, my first thought this day and age was Jeremy Renner.
I think that works.
He's starting to heat up as an actor. I mean, he's born, right?
Right.
He's the newborn.
Well, he was.
Yeah.
He was in it.
Was,
and
whatever
He's
the-
Hawkeye in
yeah.
the Avengers.
Yeah, he's Hawkeye. Like he's like the next guy. I feel like they pumped up Chris Pratt a little bit.
Right.
They did it with Channing Tatum, where it's
Yeah.
like he catches fire and
He's
all
in
of
a
a sudden
bunch of
he's
stuff.
guys in everything.
It's like
I think-
Vinny Chase.
Yeah, I think that's going to start to happen with Jeremy Renner, and I feel like he's my guy. He's my McCord. He looks like a hockey player too.
Can he make a save?
I don't know if he can make a save, but what if they flip the script and he becomes an offensive player?
Is that in the tryout? Like in the tryout for the movie?
Yeah.
Like, when they make this movie, did Van Damme have to actually play goalie?
I feel like he had to at least put the pads on and look like it, even if it was a stuntman that did it. I don't care.
Like in the audition, they had
Yeah.
to have him try to make a save, and if
Yeah.
you make it, you're on the list.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're out.
yeah, maybe start slow and speed it up a little bit.
What
I can see
about
that?
like Matt Damon,
Yeah, old born Matt Damon.
Denzel Washington?
See, Denzel, this would have been a Denzel movie back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
It's just they probably chose Van Damme, but Denzel was in these types of movies back then too. So yeah, I could easily see Denzel.
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck, he's too good for it these days.
He's too good?
He's
Yeah.
too good for it.
He's
just
Batman.
Just like Denzel right now is too good for it. Back then Denzel could have done it. And back in the late 90s would have been Affleck.
What about Jason Statham?
Crazy good choice.
He's got a goalie
Yeah.
body.
And if you want to make this an action star movie, I mean he's one of the few left that is just he's straight action. He doesn't really have any other card to play. Now we talk about Darren McCord. What about Powers Booth? What about Joshua, the villain?
There's one man for this, and
Yeah.
and he's going to be typecasted from here on out because
Yeah.
he's done. What's that show on Netflix
House of Cards.
House of Cards, yeah. Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey.
No, done, over.
But I feel like it's always Kevin Spacey.
It's got to be him though. He's good at it.
I like Kevin Bacon. Maybe it's just a bias of me trying to get Kevin Bacon back into our subconscious again, back into our lives.
Didn't they just cancel the following? It's not going to happen.
I just watched the series finale, and you know what? Not so bad.
It's not going to happen.
Not so
though.
bad. I want Kevin Bacon back in our world. I want him in major motion pictures.
Hollow Man ruined his career.
That's a great movie.
Which is actually a good
Stop
movie.
It was a good movie. And I also like John Travolta for this scene as well.
He could do it.
Because he, like Powers Booth, has a big face.
Yeah.
You got a big face, you can do this.
We have said that before. I think the key to a good villain is to have a big, wide
You gotta have
face.
a big face.
You got to have a big face. You got to have the gravitas.
And Powers Booth didn't have a huge face in this movie, but he got a big face. By the time he was on 24, huge face.
His face got a lot
Yeah.
huger.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe. He's kind of got a big face.
Willem
He has a big
Dafoe's
mouth.
Same way.
He has a big mouth and a lot of teeth.
Big mouth, and he's got villain qualities. He got the laugh.
I'd say Hugo Weaving, maybe John Barrowman from
Yeah.
Arrow fame, as everyone knows. I like Arrow. And I think probably Kevin Spacey or John Travolta.
I like Hugo too. That was a good call.
What about the kids?
See, we were talking about this. The kids, we don't know kid actors anymore.
I
Now-
guess that's a good thing. But
yeah, because like these actors, these kids, like I think they sucked in this
they
movie.
were terrible.
But they don't have names. So who's the equivalent of that time period then?
In that time period, not a modern recast, I
Yeah.
would have literally flown them off of the set of Mrs. Doubtfire. Get the two kids from Mrs. Doubtfire. Get freaking, what's his name?
that the
Matt
same-
Lawrence.
That was like 94, right? Same
Get,
time, right?
Get
Yeah.
Matt Lawrence. Get the little girl, not the old one. The one
Matilda.
that made Matilda.
Matilda.
Get
Yeah.
those two. Fly them
Yeah.
from wherever the hell they were, Los Angeles, San
Much better.
Francisco. Get them on a plane. Send them to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Get a couple days of filming, and this movie is immediately better.
As Wayne Campbell says, I know it's a small part, but I think we can do better than
Exactly.
this. Yeah. I like
Anyway.
it. I like it.
I think that's enough for the recast, but I just feel like if they were to reboot it, I think some of those guys, I don't know what the setting would be, but I think some of those guys could do a good job.
Yeah.
We got a couple odds and ends. I know we're almost out of time here. We're probably way over time, but we've got a couple things that I wanted to ask you. And the number one question that I was thinking during this entire film was, how much were those tickets worth? And
Yeah.
would a lesser man have sold the tickets to pay his child support?
See, in an alternate universe, he would never. It's like if he would have sold those tickets, that means he's a deadbeat dad. In which this is a different movie. This is about a man who is a deadbeat dad who is trying to get his family back, but he just can't do it. But because it's a movie about becoming a goalie and fighting mascots and saving the igloo from explosions, he does not sell these tickets. He's trying to become a better father, gets in that building, saves the building. So he is not selling these tickets.
And we owe him for that.
Yeah.
What
But if he were to sell those tickets, he's probably getting at least 500 a piece.
Oh, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Game 7. They were like the bottom level.
They were good seats.
They were like center ice,
We're
weren't
almost
they?
center ice. They were good seats.
They were great seats.
Yeah. I don't think a 6-year-old girl appreciates hockey enough to appreciate those seats. So I think it was a waste of a ticket.
What would have happened if the game really ended that way? It ended in a tie. I mean, we don't find out who wins the cup. Like,
we're in sudden death, and all of a sudden the jumbotron falls down.
This is another movie that could have dealt with the ending scene credit montage. They could have said, Darren McCord went on to, have his family come back to him. His wife and him got back together. She divorced her current husband back for him because he saved their life.
Right.
Powers Booth died in a fiery explosion. Yeah. The Blackhawks won
in game 8.
Yeah, they won in game 8.
Here's the problem, though. The Igloo is obviously destroyed. You can't play that game there.
Yeah.
What are you going to go back to Chicago? That's not fair. Penguins earned home ice advantage.
I guess in '94 they could go to a neutral site. They're close to Philly. They could go to
Philly, but Philly hates Pittsburgh, so that's a home game for Chicago.
That's true.
So
I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah, those are rivals. So I feel like you got to play it on some pond. Maybe play it at the Bryce Jordan Center.
The Winter Classic.
Yeah. What year was the Bryce Jordan Center erected? Penn State.
I should know this, but I don't know.
I don't know if it was 95 or not.
I think you're right. It has to be a neutral court.
Yeah.
It can't be anywhere else in another.
Go to State College.
Arena.
I think you go to State College, we get it done.
They're close enough. They're 3 hours away. They could get on a private jet.
That's still an advantage for the Pittsburgh because they earned it.
Would Tolliver have played in this game if it was Game 7, 104 fever?
You got, especially in hockey, it's a tough guy attitude, especially in those days before concussion recognition. He would have given it a go, most definitely.
I think Ken Reggett would have done a better job, but that's just me.
Hey, but that's personal preference. I mean, like you said, you got to sub him in NHL 95. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
And a fun fact for anyone that's listening, in the 1995 Stanley Cup Finals, which would have actually been this year, Jersey sweeps Detroit 4-0.
Okay. This could have been set in Jersey.
Yeah.
I could see this movie in Jersey.
It would have been in Jersey.
Yeah. If this movie were made today, who were the two teams and what city would it be in?
I like to say that because of the star power, I'm talking in like city, it would have been Los Angeles versus New York in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. So this is an LA. LA is a good place to have a terrorism plot thwarted.
You can't, because CTU did it all those years in 24, you can't do that in New York.
Yeah.
It's just too soon for that.
Yeah.
But in LA, you could do it, I think, because it would work and the teams are popular enough.
I also think you could do it in Chicago, Detroit, those types of cities.
Some of those cities with the big hockey town. I would love it if it was in Philly.
Yeah.
Because obviously the Flyers would be
sure.
there. Would love to watch that. But I agree with you. I think that's a good point. And one final point to make is we all know that Sidney Crosby would be the first person off the ice if the stadium started coming down. So
oh my God.
Just got to get that shot in there.
Yeah.
And on that note.
Yeah, cheap shot. Good job.
Anything else you want to say about this movie?
I just want to, again, once again, thank you, Luke Robitaille, for saving the entire city of Pittsburgh. You don't get enough credit, man.
Yeah.
Game tying goal.
It's a sweet haircut, too.
Yeah.
Sweet haircut.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, if you guys enjoy the show, stay tuned for more. Let us know what movies you guys want to watch. You can send us an email, thelastrowpodcast at gmail.com. You can send us tweets on Twitter at thelastRowPod.
Twitter tweets.
We're on Facebook. Look for us. Google+. We have a voicemail line. I know we had a voicemail last week. 415-779
Last.
415-779-5278. And our website is thelastRowPodcast.com. And we'll look forward to hearing from you guys next week.
Yeah, I mean, can we take one more shot at Sidney Crosby before we go, or should we?
I have a friend on Instagram that every post that he makes, he has a hashtag Crosby sucks. No matter what, it doesn't matter. It's like a default hashtag.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that's how we do it.